Welcome to the Greenhouse Educator pre-webinar session recording. This brief recording outlines what you can expect during the upcoming Greenhouse Educator 5-day training. It'll outline how we'll spend our time and how educators can come prepared to the sessions. The Greenhouse Project team is eager to join you for this Train the Trainer session in New Orleans, Louisiana. The class will be facilitated by Marla DeVries, Chief Learning Officer at Center for Innovation, and Rachel Graham, Project Coach. We're looking forward to meeting you and spending the week with you. Both Marla and Rachel have extensive knowledge educating teams and supporting organizational culture change. As a dietitian and former greenhouse guide, Rachel comes with a wealth of clinical and operational expertise. Registrations for the class are still coming in. What we do know is that there will be a variety of attendees from both open greenhouse sites and those in development, and that it should be a time of rich learning and connecting with one another. And now for some of the logistics. The Educator class is from Monday, January 27th, beginning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time and concluding 3 p.m. on Friday, January 31st. We'll be in a meeting room at Poydras Home in New Orleans. Prior to the class, you'll be sent a campus map and directions on how to reach the training room. We know that parking is very limited at Poydras, and so therefore we recommend using Uber or Lyft to travel to and from the home. The airport is approximately 30 minutes from the hotel and Poydras Home. You are welcome to stay at any hotel or other accommodation of your preference. We have secured a special rate of $129 a night at the Hampton Inn, New Orleans, St. Charles Avenue Garden District Hotel. And you see the address on the screen. That hotel is, I think, just under 2 miles from the Poydras Home. Restaurants are very close to the hotel, many of them being within walking distance. The hotel information was sent in your confirmation letter when you registered. If you have not done so already, please make your hotel reservation soon. To take advantage of the group rate at the Hampton Inn, please use the QR code found on the slide. That discounted rate is set to expire soon, so please don't delay if you want to take advantage of that reduced rate. So you may be wondering, what exactly is core training and what is Greenhouse Educator class? Core training is an experiential learning session diving into the greenhouse model. It is the foundational training for all team members who work in greenhouse homes or support the operation of greenhouse homes. Greenhouse Educator is the Train the Trainer course that equips you to teach core training back at your greenhouse community. So let's get into core training specifically. Core training centers on the 3 core values of the greenhouse model: meaningful life, real home, and empowered staff. Each of the core values is further broken down into 3 to 4 components. So meaningful life will come to life as we explore, what does it mean to deeply know our elders? What does autonomy and control look like for elders, and how can we help facilitate elders being the authors of their lives or being in the driver's seat? And how can we support opportunities for purposeful living for elders in greenhouse homes? Then for Real Home, we'll be discussing, what does it mean to create an intentional community of belonging, which happens right at the moment they move in? How do we leverage the power of normal and create a community of normalcy and not an institution that nobody wants to move into? Along those lines, how do we take the institution out of our homes for the elders? And how do we create convivium, or the experience of good food and good company? We understand that some of this terminology might be new to you. And then the use of new and different terminology really is intentional, because what you're doing is new and different. So during the class, we'll be discussing some old habits or old ways of practicing elder care that we may need to let go of in order to be able to fully embrace relationship-rich, person-directed living in the greenhouse model. So that new terminology really helps to shift our beliefs and our mindset to a new way of being and doing. And finally, the core value of empowered staff will be explored through these topics. What does it mean to have a radical organizational redesign? What does that look like? How does that impact our operations and our daily practices? How do we truly empower individuals and teams? How do we create this foundation of what we call a collaborative coaching culture and people working in collaborative relationships and partnerships with one another? And what does decision making and problem solving look like on a daily basis in greenhouse homes? And it's probably not surprising to you that empowered staff is where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. So if we don't get this part right, the elders will live in and staff will work in pretty buildings, but they'll be institutional environments nonetheless. So it's this operational model is really what makes the other two values, core values, come fully to life. So both Greenhouse Educator class and core training follow Kolb's cycle of experiential learning. So as you experience the class, look for ways that we've integrated this cycle into different sections of the content. I'll go through it briefly. So first we start with an experience, that concrete experience. That could be through an activity we do, a role play that you observe, or having someone share a previous experience. Share a time you did this, or share a time that happened. And then the second aspect is the reflection. Well, what happened? What did you experience in that activity? What did you hear in that role play? Thirdly, it's that generalization. Why do you think that happened? What do you think that means? What do you think that reveals? And finally, the application, or what the slide says, is active experimentation. So what do I do with this information or this experience? How can I use it in my everyday work life? And what you'll notice is that we'll continue to follow this pattern as we go through the different sections of the content. So how will we spend our time at Greenhouse Educator? First of all, we hope it's a lot of fun. We've all gotten by with Zoom-based training, but I like to say nothing beats the real thing of being in person. There will be time to connect with and learn from one another. We ask that you dress comfortably. We don't have a dress code, so to speak, but please know that you will be going into elders' homes. So we ask that your clothing reflect a respect for the elders and for their homes. Now to a little bit more of the specifics. This is a rough outline of our schedule. A final and more thorough agenda will be provided to you when you arrive at class. You'll notice from the schedule that the class times vary slightly each day. That's because in addition to time in the classroom, you're also going to be going into greenhouse homes, and we want you to experience what occurs in the homes at various times throughout the day. I do want to highlight two important items on the agenda. The first is our evening activity on Thursday night. It's our book club and our celebratory happy hour, and that'll take place approximately 5:30 to 7:30 in the evening, and that final location will be shared to you with the final agenda. And secondly, please note that we start a little earlier on Friday at 8 a.m. and we'll also end a little earlier by 3 p.m. It's important that you plan to stay until the end of class. Therefore, please don't make flight accommodations leaving until the late evening. This information was also in the confirmation letter that we sent out when you registered. So during our time together, you will experience core training as a learner. We'll teach the content as if you are in a core class at a greenhouse site. And that's so you can just fully immerse yourself into the content and not be so worried about how am I going to teach this. We'll have time for that. In addition to our time exploring the greenhouse core content, as I mentioned, you'll be spending time in a greenhouse home. There are 4 scheduled visits to a greenhouse home at Poidra's home, and those visits will be visits with an elder, an early morning visit, an evening visit, and lunch or convivium. And the visits are really meant to give you a firsthand experience of life in a greenhouse home at all different times of the day. So it's an opportunity to observe the rhythm of the day, interact with the elders and with the team members. And even if you come from an open greenhouse site, there's value in spending time in another greenhouse home. You get to see what's the same, what's different from your community to this one. And we really hope that you make the most of the experience. On Thursday and Friday, we'll unpack the core content with our educator hats on, so to speak. We'll do a more thorough look at certain topics. We'll talk about the research that informs the model. We'll talk more specifics on certain activities and tools within the greenhouse model. And we'll answer any facilitation questions that you have regarding teaching the core content. We'll also ground the core training more fully in adult learning theory and the principles in practice. We'll explore a group facilitation model that helps you prepare for a healthy learning environment back at your community. You will also be given the opportunity to practice teaching a portion of the core content in a safe space where you can be given some real feedback. We learn by doing, and so this short piece of content is going to help you to get even more familiar with how the content is designed and delivered. You'll be receiving your teach back assignment about 2 weeks prior to the start of class. I'll send you the teacher's guide pages that correspond to your content. You'll be partnered with another person for these teach back sessions, and so I'll make that connection for you as well. Each of these presentations will be anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. We ask that you teach the content as it's written. All of the materials and supplies will be provided for you to use, so you don't need to bring anything with you to teach that section of the content. We'll also explore the Greenhouse Learning app Encore and how in your role as an educator, you can use it to reinforce core concepts or use it as an onboarding tool until you can get new employees through core training. We want you to be familiar with this resource so that you have another tool in your education toolbox. We'll also help you to develop a teaching plan for when you return back to your community. We'll start with a needs assessment to identify your training needs. And that will be discussing who is the who of who you'll be teaching. What are the needs for new employees coming in? Or if you'll be teaching current employees, how steeped are they in the model? What previous education have they had? Where do you think their mindset is right now? Then we'll be helping you to develop the plan. When are you going to be teaching? Who is that first audience? And finally, how can you sustain learning? We know that sustainability is such a vital part of your success. So again, how will you use Encore? What other initiatives or tools can you use to reinforce the model? And importantly, how can you engage others so that the sustainability of the model is not all on your shoulders? What you will receive. Core education. First of all, you'll receive the facilitator guide for core. The facilitator guide is about a 1.5-inch binder. So please leave room in your suitcase as you'll be traveling home with that binder. You'll also receive the learner guide or the set of handouts that the learners will use and will go through during our educator session. On a flash drive, you'll receive all of the PowerPoint slides we use, the videos, the handouts, files for printing cards or any materials that you'll use when you teach core. All of that will be available for you. You really don't need to recreate the wheel. You just need to follow the guide that's provided. You'll also be receiving access to hundreds of teaching videos. These educational videos cover concepts such as communication, customer service, teamwork, leadership, change management, diversity, just a ton of different topics. They're all micro learning videos, so that means they're about 2 to 4 minutes each that you can add into any in-service or team meeting that you're conducting with people. So how can you best prepare for coming to Greenhouse Educator. We have 4 main ways that you can prepare. So the first is watch. We ask that you watch the Where Love Matters Greenhouse Overview video. This video has been around for several years, but it really offers you great insight in how the model looks, feels, and operates. And even if you have watched it previously, I recommend that you watch it again with some fresh eyes. So first is watch, second is read. If at all possible, read the book Being Mortal by Atul Gawande. This book offers so many rich insights to think about related to elders in greenhouse homes, as well as loved ones in our own lives. So I'll be reaching out to each of you individually to see if you have access to the book or you need a copy sent to you. Chapter 5 in particular talks about the greenhouse model. We will use the book as part of our book club discussion during that Thursday evening celebratory happy hour. We ask that you come with 1 or 2 quotes or key takeaways or a couple thought-provoking questions that you have from reading the book so you can be a part of that discussion with your fellow educators. We also ask that you read the introductory section of the Greenhouse Educator teacher binder, and I will be sending you that as an email attachment. You'll get the complete binder when you come, so you don't have to print it separately, but we just ask that you read that to give you an overview of how the binder is put together. So watch, read, and then reflect. The core content itself asks the learners to reflect quite a bit on their experience of caring for elders, as well as looking at practices in traditional environments. So we ask that if you have a journal, it might be helpful to write down your thoughts as you watch the video, as you read the book, as you read the introductory section of core. And then we also ask that you do some reflection based on any observations that you can make in the home. So if you can be a fly on the wall in your community, even for just 20 or 30 minutes, it'll help create context for that core training and your discussions with other educators. So if you can observe a meal or an activity or just the general rhythm of the home and make some observations, that can be really insightful to you. And finally, practice. So as I mentioned previously, once you received your assignment for the teach back, please come to your educator session ready to teach your section. This is not a time to wing it, as they say. So work with your teaching partner and be prepared. We'll be conducting the partner teach backs on Thursday and Friday during our week together. And that's it. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me, Marla DeVries, with any questions that you have about the Greenhouse Educator class. I can't wait to see all of you in person and to experience the Greenhouse Core training and the Educator class with you. I ask that you do me a favor, send me a quick email note stating that you've watched the video. Thanks and be well.